What do you mean, do I have a workflow? Of course I have a workflow, Patrick.
Oh, Roger.
Whoa, Roger's here with video even.
That's amazing.
Hi, Roger. I'm going to hide you immediately after you joined. Sorry. That's very rude, but I will get back to you. All right, here we go.
The Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is brought to you by wonderful, awesome patrons like you. If that's not you, join this party now. Go to patreon.com/AceDetect and give a little, because it helps a lot. That's patreon.com/ACEDTECT. Hit the button, Tom.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, February 10th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me, Mr. Patrick Beja, host of Pixels. Probably this week, the best video game podcast you could possibly listen to, Patrick.
I completely agree, and that is because of its co-hosts this week, which a few people in the chat room, by the way, TV's Egon included, were saying, I'm going to stop listening to Veronica, Tom, and Patrick to start listening to Tom and Patrick. So,
we should have invited Veronica. I could have just made it a
true.
day of it. You know, I will be recording 2 interview episodes of Sword and Laser with Veronica later today. So you could listen to all 3, and it will be like triangulating your podcasting hosts.
Maybe I will.
Maybe you already got Pixels. You already got this, so it'd be easy.
That's true. You know. That's true. It should probably do. I'm not going to listen to Sword and Laser.
Thanks. After all that. All right, let's take a look at the headlines. Google product manager Prem Ramaswamy posted an announcement of Google's new search feature that adds medical facts to the sidebar when you search for common medical conditions. The knowledge graph box, similar to the ones you get when you see Wikipedia content, will have 3 tabs: About, Symptoms, and Treatment. The facts come from top sites, surfaced initially by an algorithm, but then reviewed and curated by Google's own team of doctors, and then fact-checked by doctors from the Mayo Clinic. Google hastens to add that these are not to be considered medical advice, Patrick.
Oh, gosh darn it. I was going to replace my doctoring with just Google.
With Google searches.
We'll have time to discuss this a little bit more later in the show. GigaOM passes along the USA Today report that starting next week, JetBlue will be the first airline to accept Apple Pay in flight for onboard purchases. Flight attendants will use specially equipped iPad minis to accept payments. The tablets will also have card readers for everyone else.
Now, I'm like, okay, that's great. Good to see more options out there. GigaOM's Kevin Toffel pointed out, how's this going to work when you're in a window seat? Do you have to keep your thumb on the button while you reach over to tap? Or are you going to have them hand the mini to you? Like, it seems ergonomically to be a bit of an issue.
Well, I think that the solution to that is that iPhone owners just don't get Windows seats. It's pretty straightforward.
And if you're sitting in a Windows seat, you got to be using your Android device or BlackBerry or Windows Phone or Sailfish or Tizen or Ubuntu.
Jola.
Yola's Sailfish, so yeah.
Oh,
right.
That's...
PC World reports on a new enterprise service from cloud storage firm Box that lets companies keep full control of encryption keys for their data. Box Enterprise Key Management, or EKM, because the enterprise world does love an acronym, is in beta. The key infrastructure is provided by a dedicated Amazon Web Service Cloud HSM appliance, leveraging Gemalto's SafeNet hardware security modules for key encryption and protection. Customers have full control of the keys, while Amazon maintains the hardware, and Box never sees any of it. Box EKM also created an audit log that customers can enable to review all of the login attempts. Toyota Motor Sales and World Bank Group are among the organizations currently testing the new capability.
It's an interesting middle ground between actually having your in-house structure if you're a company and externalizing everything. I think it would still make a lot of managers nervous to not have some data kept internally on proprietary hardware. But for some people, it could be the thing that makes them accept the idea of going with an outside service.
Yeah, I compare this to Spider Oak, which I use, and it encrypts your key but stores it remotely encrypted to your password. So the idea is that even though they actually have the key, they can't get to it because it's encrypted with your password and you're the only one who knows the password, unless you've told someone. This goes an extra step and says we're not even going to have access to it at Box. It's going to totally be stored separately. So like you say, it's a step closer to be like, it's almost like having all the equipment in-house, which just for sometimes even irrational reasons, people say, you know what, I just want everything in-house, but it is more expensive that way.
Yeah. GigaOM reports Facebook is bringing its internet.org portal to 6 states in India through Reliance Communications. The app includes free access to around 40 services and information sources. Clicking past those zero-rated sources incurs charges, and the app is meant to provide some internet access to users with feature phones or who can't afford data plans. I understand that, some people are, how can you say it without sounding mean, are doubting Facebook's intentions in that, and certainly getting people to use Facebook is maybe not certainly, but it's possibly one of the motivations for Zuckerberg to be working on this.
Totally. Even if he's being altruistic, he's only being altruistic because he also gets the side benefit of people getting hooked on Facebook. Let's be honest.
Possibly. But it's still pretty awesome. Net neutrality, not, if you don't get into that debate.
It is really
awesome.
It's an interesting thing because it does two things, right? It hooks people on Facebook, which if you asked people out of context, would you like an app that hooked poor people on Facebook? They'd be like, no, that's a horrible idea. It also violates net neutrality principles, the way many people interpret them, not all, but many people would say, no, zero rating violates net neutrality. You shouldn't allow certain data to be free and other data to be paid for. It's essentially the reverse of paid prioritization and has the same effect. That's what this app does. And yet, most people seem to think internet.org is a good thing because it allows people who otherwise wouldn't get any data to be able to access some data. And of course, as they start to make more money, which could be one of the effects of having access to more information, then they can afford to buy data and access the wider internet. The question is it fair to have, even if it's a nonprofit that is essentially backed by for-profit corporations, controlling what information a large swath of the human populace is able to access?
All excellent questions. However, having grown up myself in a world where you didn't have that kind of capability, basically information from around the world at your fingertips, thinking that in some remote areas of developing countries, it is now possible for people to get that for free is a pretty, enthusiastic,
siren song,
using thought. But
Flipboard, the popular tablet-friendly mobile news app, is now on the web. Welcome back, Flipboard. They've got a website. Check out flipboard.com to see how they've adapted their design for the mouse and keyboard set. They did a pretty good job. You can't swipe the screen to flip. But as CNET reports, it has high-res images that take up the width of the page with captions and headlines that stay out of the way of the image content. It uses a parallax effect that makes transitions to large images a smooth experience as you scroll down the page. The website also gives users a variety of layout options. It's good. It's a good looking design. If you like Flipboard on your tablet, you are likely to think this is very nice looking. I have found Flipboard beautiful, but less than utilitarian for me. But I'm actually kind of in the minority, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really enjoy Flipboard. It's very, very tied to the tablet UI, which is why I'm going to say in some ways this is not incredibly significant. It's important for Flipboard because it actually makes them available on all of the main platforms, the web being one. But in other ways, I think it is very, very significant because Flipboard was sort of the poster child for the tablet native app that got it right and that enabled tablets to be a form factor and a delivery system of their own with content formatted in a way that made sense. So there was for a moment, this idea that maybe the web might not be needed in some cases. And this is a pretty clear example of the fact that the web is incredibly resilient. It might be because of its openness, it might be because of its universal adaptability and its universal use, but the web is kind of like email. It's not just not going away.
Well, it's like the internet. A lot of people thought the internet would go away in its early days because they're like, oh, it'll be replaced by services like AOL. And no, definitely not.
Torrent Freak reports that Swiss-based, will shut down at the end of March. The file hosting service was referred to by the US government as a notorious market, whatever that means. After efforts to work with copyright holders to stop illegal file sharing, users and revenue dropped. RapidShare recommends all customers secure their data. After March 31st, 2015, all accounts will no longer be accessible and will be deleted automatically.
The internet always routes around, but the people who, even if unintentionally, have their primary business model based on less than secure or ethical reasons don't always stick around either. It's a battle out there. I think a lot of people are upset to see RapidShare go because RapidShare, while it walked the line on the side of the user and therefore got in a lot of trouble with copyright holders, I think they were seen by a lot of people as trying to be fair and saying, no, we shouldn't police what people do. It should be like a lockbox. Whatever they put in there is up to them.
It's also kind of significant that when they tried to police the service, it ended up becoming non-profitable anymore, which says something about the nature of the use of those services.
Speaking about the nature of the use of services, it didn't take long for Samsung to get around to addressing their smart TV issue. This weekend, the internet exploded about Samsung's privacy policy. We talked about it on yesterday's show. The policy said it would transmit to a third party, quote, personal or other sensitive information that a user said out loud around one of its smart TVs. Samsung has now significantly changed the terms to clarify that it only sends the voice commands you speak, and maybe a second or two around those, to a third party right now called nuanced communications. They specifically call that out. So, hey, folks, you can now trust speaking about your health conditions that you search for in Google while around your Samsung TV. Just don't click the mic button on the remote while you're doing that, because that's how you get yourself in trouble with the Samsung TV.
I thought your discussion with Brian yesterday was spot on.
Brian nailed it, right? Yeah.
Overzealous attorneys or
underzealous in a way, right?
Yeah,
overzealous in protecting themselves, but not being very specific. And obviously what we've seen today is an attempt for them to specify, like, no, this is actually what we're doing, which is what they should have done in the first place, of course.
Yeah. Facebook announced a new Facebook Groups feature to make it easy for members to list their items for sale. The feature, called Sell, very original, allows members to add a description of an item, set a sale price, and a pickup or delivery location. Sellers will now also be able to mark items available or sold.
I've always felt that Facebook is very similar to the AOL of the 90s, and I've never felt more like that than I do today, where I'm like, I had no idea there were Facebook groups called for sale groups, where people like sold things to each other in their locality. And Facebook, it's such a thriving institution that Facebook's adding features for them to make it easier to list. I think this is great that Facebook is doing this and responding to their users. And I'm so out of the loop on Facebook. And I felt that way about AOL chat rooms in the late 90s. Like, hi, am I missing out on something because I don't participate in this AOL stuff? Because it was hugely popular.
It makes complete sense for Facebook to integrate these kinds of features, for sure. Is it possible already to send money via Facebook? I think that would be the next step.
Yeah, I don't think so. Although Facebook had a payment system for their own stuff, I don't think they've allowed you to send money between users.
To someone.
But I don't want to say I'm 100% certain on that. Maybe there might have been a beta at one point. As far as I know, though, it's not not enacted. Recode reports FCC Commissioner Ajit Pai claims the U.S. public is being misled about the FCC's proposed rules for open internet. Pai claims that forbearances will not shut down all possibility of taxes or rate regulation, as Commissioner Chairman Todd Wheeler has claimed. Tom Wheeler. Pai called for the public release of the document, which is either 332 pages or 8 pages long, depending on whether you're counting all of the comments from the comment period that are included with it. The FCC traditionally does not make full text of rules available before a vote. Now, that's a controversial thing, but the FCC has done it forever, and they very rarely make exceptions. The last exception was made for rules on media ownership. However, Patrick, I think with Ajit Pai saying, Wheeler said it's not going to be any rate regulation, but the way I read it, it leaves the door open for it. My position has been, well, the FCC doesn't usually make these things open because once they publish them, then you can challenge them in court or petition your congressman to overturn it with a law. But this is such a controversial topic. I feel like Commissioner Wheeler should make the text of this available ahead of the vote, unlike the traditional practice, because there is as much or more controversy about this as there was about media ownership.
Sure, I don't want to speak to the general habits of the FCC in that regard, because obviously I know nothing of them. But if the importance of a topic and a set of rules is to be considered in that decision, certainly I can't really think of many topics that would be more important than the debate on net neutrality. So it would seem that it could warrant it in that case.
And right now we've got a he said, she said situation. Wheeler says, no, I'm forbearing all rate regulation, all taxes. Not going to be any loopholes for that. You're not going to get charged. And they had another statement today flat out saying that. Whereas Commissioner Pai is saying, well, hold on. The way I read it, you know, there could be rate regulation after the fact. If somebody complains, they could say it's not just and reasonable that they're charging this much. And that could be interpreted in any way. Problem is, we can't look at the document and say, you know, on our own, well, I've looked at the document and I think it would work out this way. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I can't help but, as I was saying last week, I can't help but wonder how much of political game is played into this. And I shouldn't.
Oh, totally.
Because,
yeah.
Yeah, but it's in this case, the commissioners should be working, well, they are working towards the public's best interest, and in their view, they certainly are. But, you know, it's so sad that you can't help but wonder, is this actually what he thinks, or is he playing into, you know, the role of a certain party, and the others will do the same. It's just, yeah. Anyway, in this case, I mean,
here's the thing. The principles of what Wheeler has showed us so far and the principles of what we've seen in the legislation proposed in the House are the same. The devil's in the details on both of them, whether the legislation got passed and in what final form, and whether the proposed rulemaking passes and in what final form. These rules are going to pass, and then we'll see what happens with the legislation. So it's become a partisan issue. The Republicans are pushing to discredit these rules so that when they get passed, they can try to build up a head of steam to pass legislation in the House while it is challenged in court, which it will inevitably be. And the Democrats are trying to, you know, make it look like they're being unreasonable and they're saving the internet, and neither side is right. These rules aren't really going to change anything, no matter who wins.
Yeah, I know that's your position on them, because you're looking at the competition side of things. And I'm not sure that's the only thing we should be looking at when trying to understand whether or not they will be efficient, but that's probably a debate for another time.
Fair enough.
I didn't manage to bait you enough to derail the conversation. All right. In that case, The Verge reports Google...
Oh, I see. When you say that's a debate for another time, you're really like taunting me like a kung fu master. Bring it.
But I actually don't agree with you on your conclusion, but yeah, another time. The Verge reports Google announced dates for Google I/O today. The annual developer conference and venue for major announcements will take place May 28th and 29th in San Francisco. Registration begins at 9 a.m. March 17th.
All right, a couple of pieces of news from you. These come from our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Get in there and at least vote some stuff up or down if you like it. It's the thing that we look at third It's the final word on what goes into my lineup. SB Sheridan and Star Fury Zeta both submitted this story. The Washington Post reports president is establishing a cyber threat intelligence integration center in the United States to fuse intelligence from various government agencies in order to counter so-called cyber attacks, like the intrusion into the White House computers or the attack on Sony Picture Entertainment's network. Critics point out that agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the NSA all have cyber operations centers, with the NSA and the FBI already able to integrate information from multiple sources. Cyber.
As long as it's cyber. Star Fury Zeta sent us the Gizmodo report that security consultant Mark Burnett published 10 million passwords along with their corresponding usernames. 10 million. That data is a random sample compiled from existing data dumps around the internet. Mark explains the need for username and password data to be shared together in order to gain insight into user behavior, as well as learn more about password security.
This is a risky business. He could be brought in on charges of violating the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. He is worried that the same thing that happened to Barrett will happen to him. And yet he's willing to do it because he's like, look, this information is already out there. He's not the first one making it available. He's finding it easily available out on the internet. It's already been stolen by someone. And yet he feels it's stupid to say, well, even though it's already out there, you can only have passwords because it restricts the research. He's like, most of these passwords and usernames have been changed anyway, since whatever breach that resulted in them happened. So it's an interesting argument in any case.
And it informs a lot of the password security good practices and research, of course, but it has a real effect on our usage of those services. I still remember a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, most services will allow you to have a much shorter password, and you could use only letters or only words or whatever. And those changed because of that kind of work, because it's the information, as you were saying, is already out there and people are exploiting it already. So.
All right, let's get into our main discussion. Harkening back to our first story in the headlines today, the Google blog post by Prem Ramaswamy that we're going to get a knowledge graph sidebar in Google search about health conditions. I want to go right to the heart of this. Like, how does this change what Google does? Here's what they say in their support page about this. Algorithms find and analyze health-related information from high-quality sites across the web. Okay, that sounds perfect. That sounds like what they do with Wikipedia. When you search somebody's name and there's an article about that famous person, then Hugh Bonneville's biography shows up on the side of the site. Here's where it changes. Then teams of doctors carefully review and refine the information, and licensed medical illustrators create the visuals. So they're not only curating the information and then selecting what shows up. So it's now hand touched. It's not an algorithm anymore. It's essentially what TechMeme does, right? They're like, use an algorithm to dump a bunch of stuff, and then an editor picks like, okay, here's what I think is really the most important stuff. Then they're illustrating it. They're creating original art to go next to it. So I'm not arguing that this isn't a lovely service, but does this change what Google is to you, Patrick?
Well, it could really be one of two things. Either it could be, the not beginning of the end, but in a way, the beginning of a different Google that not only organizes the world's information, which is Google's mission or original mission, through algorithm, but also actually organizes that information through actual active participation. And that poses an immense amount of questions, because the moment you introduce, I understand and I agree that having the algorithm being written by human beings obviously does include a portion of human decision and human choice in it, but it's not the same when you actually go by hand and modify the information with your own human hands. And that is a significant shift for Google. So it could become a habit for different types of information, and it could make Google into not more than it is now, but something that is that you need to scrutinize even more, because they get to decide what is treated how and what is exposed and what isn't exposed. More
Google has
than we
made
are
the
over there.
argument a lot of times that they deserve safe harbor protection because, hey, it's just the algorithm
Exactly.
that puts the results out there. Well, now it's not.
So-
So maybe they could still use that defense for everything but medical information, right? But
And that's the exact. So that's the thing. That's the first thing it could signify. The other thing is that it's just going to be for that specific issue, which is very, again, specific and important to treat with care, and that they never do it again, and so it's not a big deal.
Well, Greg-
it could
Greg-
really be either.
Greg Sterling at Search Engine Land touched on this in his write-up of the blog post, saying that Google told him that it hopes this initiative will help motivate the improvement of health content across the internet. So Greg points out Google's not monetizing this at this point, so it's not trying to stack the deck for its own Google service at this point. And I could buy that, where they're saying, we're trying to get the best search results there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet. This will help encourage good actors to improve their product because they're more likely to be highlighted in these sorts of knowledge graph sidebars.
Which again kind of puts Google in the seat of the arbiter.
A little bit of the kingmaker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which
Google
they already are in many ways.
they're doing it right. Like if Google wasn't a search engine trying to claim safe harbor, I'd be like, this is great. They're doing it right. They're hiring doctors, which they have. And then they're having the Mayo Clinic independent doctors review their results. I have no issues in the way Google is going about selecting these things. I think it's very responsible.
Yeah, I think they should have gone with the ketchup clinic.
Well, isn't mayonnaise a French word? I don't understand what your objection is here. But they say on the average, 11.1 doctors have looked at each item to fact check them. So I want to be clear. I think they're doing this really well. The question is, can they still be where the impartial Google search engine if you're doing this much curation and fact checking on stuff?
Yeah, actually, I don't really have the answer to this. I mean, for the medical information, they couldn't do it without having that amount of fact checking and getting their hands dirty for this. It's obviously you can't trust, or I think everyone would agree, it wouldn't be desirable for an algorithm to handle that kind of information without humans being involved in the process. It's also important to note, I don't know if you wanted to get into this, but it's not like Google is suddenly going to become a doctor. They're saying, as you mentioned, that this is not going to replace your doctor, and they're saying it on the results themselves. This is not medical advice, and people might think, well, it kind of is, so maybe they shouldn't do it and just leave it for people to actually go see a doctor. The problem is obviously people are already using Google for that, and 1 out of 20 searches is health related, which is enormous.
Yeah,
it's really significant. And ultimately, if you don't look at the intricacies of the philosophical debates, this is probably going to improve things, whatever things are. It's probably going to be better with a curated results, because if not, people just go on the first link they find and decide this is the information that's accurate, when it sometimes isn't.
It's one of those things where what they're doing now is fine. What the effects of it are and what they do with it later might be concerning. I don't have an issue with what they're doing at the moment, but it could affect them in someone pointing to it as an example of where they have curated content. So why can't you curate my content? In other words, why can't you curate away all of the pirate sites out there, right? You curate medical information. So there's that side of it, which we've touched on. Then there's also the side of it is what happens when Google Health starts to be integrated into Google Search. Google's got a health product out there, and it's very nascent right now, but if there are ways that this could then be misused at that point.
And there's actually another question that might be super obvious, but couldn't just improve the algorithm so that it directs people to a medical resource that is proven and
Google already does that, and apparently it's not good enough. It's not as good as 11.1 doctors. I don't know what that 10th of a doctor looks like. I don't want to know. but no, apparently not. Apparently, like, you know what? Human touch, they're admitting, it's a really good point, Patrick. I hadn't thought about it enough. They're admitting, like, you know, to really get good results, you kind of have to have people.
But you know, there must be one resource, which is a kind of medical Wikipedia.
Like WebMD.
I don't know WebMD if it's, you know.
That's exactly what you're talking about. Although it's not a Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a Wikipedia. WebMD is a for-profit company. So
right. But if it's
there's the Mayo Clinic. I guess that's the thing is there are lots of different sources. There's medical sources from governments. There's medical sources from clinics, and there's medical sources that are nonprofit or that are for profit. And some of them are better at certain aspects of medical information than others.
Maybe they're. You know, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking, if it's really important, maybe, well, I was going to say they could fund an effort that is outside of themselves and then link to that, but then they would be kind of influencing the...
Then you're definitely, you're even more influencing, All right, let's finish up with our picks of the day because we've got two of them. One comes from Jody, our boss, Patrick, so we have to let her go first. She's a brand new co-executive producer on the show. She felt compelled to offer up a couple of picks. She's someone who just started a new job herself, and Charlie app has been a great tool for her to not only see how she may be connected to the new folks she meets, but also a great way to remember people's names. She says Charlie app, charlieapp.com. Charlie combs through hundreds of sources and automatically sends you a one-pager on everyone you're going to meet with before you see them. Another great tool I recently found is Sidekick. Sidekick is a Google Chrome extension that when open will track when and where a person reads your email. Kind of creepy, but also kind of cool. You can get it at app.getsidekick.com. It's a free service that gives you email superpowers with contact insights, email tracking, and email scheduling. Thank you, Jody.
I'm getting the weirdest deja vu or deja heard. It feels like...
I feel like I may have read Jody's pick before. Is that what you're thinking? Because I think you're right. I felt familiar reading it. But I wasn't going to say anything because now we've incepted the idea with people. We've actually created false memories in people who didn't ever hear us read this before.
Well, you know what? We have another one to de-scramble your mind. I have a very quick pick of a video game that is currently on sale on the Steam platform. It's a game called Gone Home, and it's very easy to get into. It's not a very, it's not a gamer's game. It's very narration based. It's 60% off currently. It's a maybe 2 hours experience, I would say. Again, don't expect tons of gameplay. It's mostly walking around and hearing the thoughts of the main character and other characters. It's kind of weird, fun. Well, not fun. It's weird, engaging. No, it's not actually fun. It's almost like an interactive kind of movie. Like you're in a house, you're exploring it, you're coming back home after you've been away for some time, and you're expecting to find your parents and your sister, and they're not home, and you're trying to understand what happened and why they're not there, and it's a wonderful story.
It's a different kind of fun. It's not a happy, cheery kind of fun. Okay.
It gets you. It gets you.
Get you in the feels
in many ways.
Is that what you're trying to say?
And so I'm recommending it. Gone Home. It's 60% off on Steam right now. So go check it out.
Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. If you're like, I've got a better pick, you don't have to read picks twice, Merritt. I know I don't. I've got other picks. I don't know what happened, but maybe Jody's picks were just that good. Can you rival her? Feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. All right, that is it for this episode. Thank you, Patrick Beja. Patrick Beja is the host, as I mentioned, of Pixels. As I mentioned, this week, probably the finest video game podcast in existence, thanks to the co-hosting efforts of Veronica Belmont, which even canceled out me being on the show. So go check it out, frenchspin.com, where you can also find the Phileas Club and any other English language. That's it for the English language right now. But there's also Le Rendezvous Jus and Le Rendezvous Tech
on frenchspin.fr if you speak French. Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Absolutely. Thanks, man. Anything in particular else? Did I steal all of your promo?
No, you did, but it's fine. Yeah, Pixels definitely this week if you like video games. And Tom, and who wouldn't, and Veronica, and of course, then go check it out. It's on FrenchSpin.com, and I'm not Patrick on Twitter.
You have to go listen because Veronica crushes Patrick's dreams.
Actually, she does, and it's
really
kind
does.
of painful, but also kind of true.
Thanks to our patrons, we are advancing towards the goal. We have picked up the from the January lull, and we're getting there. So thank you to everybody who has helped back us to get to Scott Johnson and Veronica Belmont herself to crush all of your dreams when she becomes a regular contributor. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support is the way to find out all the ways to support the show, or you can go to Patreon.com/AceDetect. If you're new to the show and you're like, what's that about? It's value for value. You get a little value from the show. We ask that maybe if you can, give a little value back. $1 a month is all we ask. Also, stick around on the audio podcast after the show. Big Jim has a tech and trade segment on the Qualcomm fine in China that we talked about yesterday. There was some talk going around that maybe it was about an anti-dumping fine. It's not, and Big Jim explains why. So stick around for that. Don't forget you can have a voice in what stories we cover, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Email, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Phone number, 51259-DAILY. And the show's live at alphageekradio.com Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back with the aforementioned Scott Johnson tomorrow. Talk to you then. And here he is.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show, chaps.
And I remembered to unhide Roger.
Good job.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins. I have guests in the office. It's very exciting. We have people watching us producing the show today.
Whoa, that's freaky.
Isn't that cool?
People watching? We don't stream this for people to watch.
I'm not even, my hair isn't done. What are you doing?
It's people watching me talk to a computer.
Yeah. They just think you're nuts.
Yep.
Like there's nobody on the other end of that computer.
Yep. Hi, Roger. How you doing?
Hey, Roger. How's it going? Oh. Well.
Roger may have stepped away. Yep. Roger stepped away.
And then he muted.
Baby situation.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
No, I can't hear anyone. Nah.
Oh, no. Why does this happen to Roger?
I don't know.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Good. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. I got to call Verizon. I can't forget because if that battery dies, I will be in bad shape.
To your phone?
No, to the Fios.
Wait, you need a battery to keep your Fios modem running?
No, actually, I don't think it would end it. I don't think it would kill the modem. I think it's a battery backup for the Fios, and it's just telling me that the battery needs replacing. Otherwise, the next time the power went out, the Fios would go out too. Which I don't know if they still do that if you don't have phone service, but for phone service, I think that's why they have that.
Huh, interesting. Oh, do you have a landline too?
I don't, no, but the infrastructure is there for it.
Very interesting. Of course, it wouldn't really matter if your power's out. You wouldn't have any power to the computer or any of your network.
I do. I've got a
laptop.
Yeah, whatchamacallit? UPS.
UPS.
Yeah. But that's why I think it's really meant for phone, because people are used to having power to their phones even if the power goes out. And with Fios, I would imagine they have to make other arrangements for that.
Title.
Metal Freak says I'm going to have to buy the battery myself. It's a big old lead acid battery. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I could figure out where to buy it, but I'm going to try.
My show title vote, by the way, is Google Browser MD, because anything that rhymes with Doogie Howser should be rewarded.
Is that going to be seen as promoting the Oscars?
That's okay. You could support NPH in all his many forms.
I will. Actually, totally will. support him.
How is
you
it
know.
supporting the Oscars?
Because Neil Patrick Harris is hosting the Oscars.
Ah. And you shouldn't support the Oscars?
Oh, that's a good trick. JPEG says if you're tired of the chime, hold the power button down and the chime stops for a day. I didn't buy the battery. Everyone's like, is the battery still under warranty? I didn't. The battery was there when I moved in. I don't know. Yeah, Google Browser MD. It's winning.
10 votes. That's unheard of almost. Especially
Yeah,
since
you
it
hear
got
that,
5
live
more
audience?
when-
10 votes is like unheard of. We need to encourage more participation in showbot.tv.
Oh, there's Google Browser MD.
Yeah,
as well
that's
that
too
has
close. Too
a
little too close.
Via
Good,
camera.
right instinct though.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Tom Merritt and Patrick Beja as the artist because you are an official contributor.
Aw. Thank you.
It just means more work for me because I have to delete you tomorrow.
Or not, I'll take credit for
You just
my
always have you
shows
and
when
Justin
I
in there
don't
every time.
appear, yeah.
And then people start
My
complaining. It
spirit
says
keeps
Patrick
us
Beja is on there, but he's not on this episode.
I was robbed. I want my money.
I want my Patreon money back.
All right, I'm gonna run.
All right.
Well, I'm not actually gonna run. I'm gonna go.
You were born ready.
Yes. I'm gonna.
All right,
laugh every
thanks,
time
Patrick.
You say it. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye, Roger. Bye, Jenny. Bye, chat room.
I had guests. Oh, I missed the Patrick Beja.
Yeah, you checking on my kid.
Patrick. Goodbye, Patrick.
Bye. Sorry I missed you.
Oh man.
Yeah, everybody says that they make you buy the battery. So I don't know.
You can't just go to Batteries Plus.
No, you can get them on Amazon. In fact, Metal Freak was nice enough to find one. Yep, that's totally it. Thank you, sir. $30. Well, that's 30 fewer bucks for Scott Johnson. No, I'm just kidding. It technically is. Yep, totally the one. You know what I should just do is that myself. Because that's exactly the unit that I got. You're smart, Metal Freak.
Are we buying batteries on the post show?
I'm waiting for the thing to export, but yes, maybe I am.
Nice. Buddy. It's a riveting post show brought to you by us. Already finished.
Watch us buy batteries.
Watch us entertain people in the office.
Daily Tech News Show. It was like watching a Bowery. Yeah, it's totally a business expense.
Security just came in and was like, "Is everything okay in here?" And I was like, "Oh my god, what happened? What do we do?" And I left the door open downstairs. It's cool. It's totally cool.
What? TVZ gun? Check this out. This is from February 9th, so it's just yesterday. Internet providers lobby against backup power rules for phone lines. Hilarious. I don't think that's what my battery's for, actually.
Well, it's because phone lines used to be powered through the phone line.
Yep.
People are used to that.
Consumers are well accustomed to self-provisioning CPE backup power, including for voice services that are not line-powered. Relying on customers to monitor their backup power supplies is the most sensible approach. I'm an example of that right now. It's perfectly sensible. The thing went off. I looked and said, oh, it needs a battery replacement. The only thing I wasn't sure is if I had to pay for it.
Dear batteries, it's me, Tom.
It's been 8 years since my last confession.
I've run out of you. Google Browser MD has 12 votes. How many votes do you think a title could get in the next 3 minutes just to see?
Look,
I wonder.
if everybody voted, yeah, it could get
It would be the top
hundreds.
vote getter of all time.
It could get hundreds of votes.
Although I do like,
Perhaps thousands.
yeah, I do like please cough into the search bar.
If people who aren't even in the chat room go to showbot.tv and vote, all bets are off.
What was that? Was that showbot.tv.org?
It was showbot.tv that I said. Yeah, that was the URL.
Oh, it's just showbot.tv. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
There
Did
we
you vote,
go.
Roger?
I don't remember the URL. Someone's going to have.
Oh, it's showbot.tv.
Yes.
I think it would be an excellent idea to use our call to action chits on a title we've already chosen.
See, here's the I know, right? Here's the problem is I need that title picked in order not to delay the publishing within like minutes of the end of the show. And so the only way to properly plug is to like immediately after the show go, all right, go to show. Maybe that's what I should do.
Yeah.
But I always prefer to just relax and go, great show, everybody.
Can I vote multiple times?
Nope.
No.
System does not allow.
Does
That
it
is
not?
Not okay. In fact, we had an incident once. The person was
yeah.
very sorry, but yeah.
How did they? I'm not going to ask. I'm going to not ask.
They just
I've
did
learned
it.
that.
I mean, it was before the protection was in place, I think, on the older one. But the thing is, like, I don't just pick the one with the most votes. I combine like votes as a tiebreaker on the ones we like. So just like artificially inflating the number of votes isn't going to help you.
It isn't?
No.
No, this is a meritocracy, not a democracy.
It's a merit. Merit.
Yeah, it's a
It's
merit.
not
meritocracy.
Changarchism either.
It's not Josephson's rules.
Changarchy.
Look at that, 35 votes for Google Browser ND.
Not even impressed.
Haha.
That's nothing. Okie dokie. Uh-oh. Did we get taken off? It looks like Viking Lass hijacked us. Oh, well. For those of you watching on Google+, hey.
That's all right. Our post show is probably not going to be as exciting as whatever is on brickslap.tv.
Oh, wait. No, that's on Brickslap. So
Yeah.
we didn't get kicked off Diamond Club. She's on Brickslap. Okay, that's cool. I don't mind.
I mean, we are buying batteries and voting for show titles. It's not like it wouldn't be a crime.
No, seriously. Viking Lass is probably going to be much more enjoyable to watch right now.
Go watch Viking Lass. There's a better
Viking
call
Lass
to
rocks.
action.
Although it does throw off our showbot.tv count.
Well, nothing's perfect. Sorry, Foot. Did you close the door now? Oh, wait, hold on. I should mute this.
I should be muting this right now. Google Browser MD, so good. Damn it, Jim, I'm a Google, not a doctor. It's pretty darn hilarious.
It's pretty good. This is
Turn
one of
your
those
head
days.
and search. I didn't notice before.
You know what?
Oh,
I'm
wait.
gonna take. I'll take a couple of these and put them in the show notes because they're that good.
Yeah. And then maybe someday we can make stickers out of them.
Turn your head and search.
Over the Rainbow Table made me laugh too, personally. Somewhere over the Rainbow Table, there's some salted hash.
What? All right. So Showbot, come back here, Showbot.
Okay. I am out of the post, and we're done with the show today. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.